Hi guys, great to see so many of you here. We are so thrilled to be spending tonight with you, and we hope that you'll learn a lot with us and you'll decide that this hour was really well spent. Well, a little bit more than 1 hour. So while people are still joining, we'll be getting started. And why don't we start by you typing in the chat, because we do have a chat here in the conversation, telling us where you guys are joining from, because we would really like to know where are you from or where you're connecting from. Let's see, Poland, Westka in Spain, Spain again, great, Finland, cool, Poland, Mallorca, Czechia, wow, Catalonia, Italy, Romania. Wow, that's so great. Venezuela even. Wow.
Okay, we have some people from Poland as well, I can see here.
Yeah, wow, what a mix. Cool. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, Poland, big group. Peru.
Peru, what time is it in Peru?
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, thanks for sharing that. And we'll be getting started, and we will start by introducing ourselves. My name is Magda, and I've been teaching English for 12 years so far. And for the last 4 years, I've been focused on teaching soldiers, preparing them for the SLP, JFLT exam, and the STANAG exam. And I think I've prepared tens, if not hundreds of soldiers for the exam in the last few years. And here's my wonderful colleague, Gosia.
Hello, I'm Gosia, and I've been teaching for STANAG exams for over 15 years now, I think. Magda, please show that slide which shows how many years of experience do we have in common.
Yeah.
It says 30 plus.
Yeah, but it's accumulated.
Yeah, together. Right.
30.
So I've been teaching for STANAG exams for over 30 years, and I'm also the author of the book, How to Pass STANAG English Exam Level 3. Speaking and writing, and I'm the author of the book you may of the blog you may know, and some ebooks. So I've been working with STANAG for a long time now, and my new experience from recent years is teaching STANAG online, and that's actually how we met, right, Magda?
Yeah. Guys, if you have any questions during our presentation, if something comes up, drop those questions in the chat. We'll be taking a look at our chat. I've seen that it's 2 p.m. in Peru. Great. Not a bad time then to take part in our webinar. So we'll be accumulating those questions in the chat, but also at the very end of the webinar, you'll have a chance to ask us questions. You can show up on video if you want to, but you don't have to. You can have your camera off, or you can just type your questions. So it's absolutely up to you. I keep unmuting more people from the waiting room. And okay, let me show you what we're going to learn today. So we're going to start with 10 steps to exam success. And there'll be no fluff here, okay? We'll be very specific with the things that can really help you to step up your game and really improve your exam preparation process. So get ready to take notes, okay? If that's the best way for you to learn, by taking notes, here you go. And at the end of our presentation, we'll invite you also to join our SLP community that we have decided to create, and we would love you to become a part of it, because the biggest value of the community are the people in it. So we'll tell you a little bit about that by the end of the presentation. But let's start with the nuggets of wisdom first. And these are some of our best tips that we have selected in order to help you step up your game. All right, here's step 1. And I'm going to talk about this one because let's just go straight into that. The first step is, and maybe you don't want to hear that, but you have to prioritize English for a certain period of your life. If your exam is approaching, if it's in a few months' time, you have to make it a priority on your priority list. End of the story. Okay, we will show you today how to make it a priority, but you have to have it like super clear. It has to be on one of the top priorities. And you need to take it seriously and schedule time slots to study. So it has to be something very regular and recurring. I would like to tell you about a method that I have discovered like some years ago, and then I like to share that with my students. And it's the rule that was invented by the Italian economist and sociologist Pareto. And he noticed that there are many correlations between things in life, and there usually happens in the 80-20 on the basis of the 80-20 rule. That, for example, you have a few examples here. 80% of air pollution originates from 20% of factories. 80% of wealth in Italy is controlled by 20% of the population. So he started to notice that. And actually, when we go deeper into that, we discover that we can translate that into language learning. So let me show you this slide. Yes, actually, and it might shock you, 20% of the efforts and time that you put into studying results in 80% of your exam success. 80%, I'm serious. But you might be quite skeptical looking at this data. I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think that I have to give like my full attention to absolutely every aspect. That's not the case, because you need to actually prioritize and optimize your learning process. Let me show you how you can do it in a very effective way. The first few tips will be a little bit of some learning strategies, some mindset tips. Then we'll go a little bit more into the STANAG specific tips. So as I said, it's all about optimizing. So what I want you to do, maybe tomorrow or tonight, if you still have some energy after the webinar, I want you to analyze your learning strategies. I want you to make a list of 10 things that you do when you're studying for the exam. Okay, and be very specific here. Write some super specific activities that you do in order to prepare. For example, I create vocabulary lists. Okay, are there any of you here who create beautiful vocabulary lists when you're studying? Let me know in the chat, because I actually want to know that. Okay, the chat is being active. Okay, and people are saying that you cannot hear us. Okay, can you guys hear us? Can you let us know? I just want to make sure that, okay.
Yeah, it seems the majority of people can hear us.
Okay, somebody says that the sound is not working for them. All right, yes. Going back to the topic. I want you to make the list of 10 things, specifically 10, okay, not more, not less. And I want you to really analyze them and rank them in the order of the most effective, the one that you see are giving you the best results, and the ones that are like, meh, not so effective, okay? Be very critical here. And I want you to circle the best 2, okay? And this is your 20%. This is something that you should give a lot of attention to and put a lot of work into. This 20% of the activities. And it's going to be different for everyone. We all have different knowledge gaps, and your task is to identify it. If you work with a teacher, the teacher, of course, can help you. But if you're self-preparing for the exam, you have to be like this kind of self-cleaning oven and self-diagnosing yourself, like of what you need to fix. So this is something that I can recommend. Identify your priorities, the things that you need to optimize in your learning. We want to encourage you to actually work smarter, not harder, okay? Because it's not about working as hard and hassling. It's about doing it in a smart way. And here comes Gosha with step number 2.
Yes, step number 2 is all about incorporating English into your daily life. It's about this, what we call the English speaker identity. Because we've all probably been there, that we are preparing for an exam for, I don't know, half a year, 3 months, and then suddenly we would drop everything because the exam is over and we forget about it. And then another exam comes and we have to start all over again. So our idea on how to avoid that is to create a new identity of an English speaker. So what do we mean exactly? So there are certainly some things that you already do in your native language that you could start doing in English, in our case, because we are preparing for the STANAG exam in English. So, so think of those things that you already do in Polish that you could do in English, right? For example, anything that you are reading in your native language, in my case, Polish, or any other language that is native to you, that you could start doing in English. Let's say you read blog posts. Why not reading them in English instead of your native language? You watch YouTube. Why not doing it in English? You watch Netflix. How about watching Netflix films or series in English with English subtitles, right? Instead of doing it with your native subtitles, right? So it might, even if it might seem difficult in the beginning, you might start by choosing a film or series that you already know and watch it this time in English with English subtitles. That could be a new thing. So you have some entertainment and some learning at the same time. And English is becoming something natural in your life. What about driving to work long distances, right? If you're, for example, driving to work long distances and you're certainly listening to something, I bet it's the radio. So why not listening to podcasts in English? You can find podcasts on any topic, right? It can be military English, military topics, or related topics, politics, science, whatever you like. But be careful not to fall into a passive learning trap. What do I mean by that? So all this consumption, the consuming of the English content that I talked about is important because you are pooling resources that you can later use. But if you are only consuming, if you are only pooling resources, then this knowledge will be passive. So what you need to do is also produce. First consume and then produce. And production, so speaking and writing, allows you to activate the resources that you have pulled by watching, listening, and reading. Okay, so while you're planning your learning, and while you're planning this part of your learning, which is not directly connected to STANAG exam, but is connected with creating this English environment around you, like surrounding yourself with different English things, even if they are little things, simple things, things that you can do really fast, then don't forget to plan the active things. So instead of doing a to-do list or preparing a to-do list in your native language, prepare your to-do list or your shopping list in English. If you are commenting some social media posts, you can do it in English, right?
Hours.
Yeah, hours for sure. You know, don't you dare commenting in another language. No, just a joke. If you need to comment in your native language, please do. We'll be happy to answer. But that's the attitude. Using the opportunity to use English, right? There's also one more technique that I wanted to mention. Maybe that might be new to you, and it is mentioned as the last bullet point here under active learning. It's called shadowing an English speaker. This is something that what you can do while listening or watching. This is simply repeating, maybe not everything, but bits and pieces of what you hear. And the variation of that is listening, for example, in your native language to the radio, let's say, while driving, and then trying to translate bits and pieces into English, like a sentence or maybe a phrase. So this is how you can optimize again. So referring to Magda, what you said, again, doing other things in your daily life, do some of them in English, and you can plan it, right? Plan your way to work and listening to a podcast in English.
Let me add 2 cents to it, because you don't have to clearly like separate this passive versus active learning. You can turn a passive exercise into an active exercise. And you can easily do it by, for example, listening to the news or a YouTube video or a podcast. And then you do the active part by, for example, summarizing what you have just heard, right? So you can, for example, record yourself, record a short note on your phone, summarizing what you have just heard. This way you are processing the information in English and you're trying to actually express yourself and everything that you have just heard. heard. So that's a great trick, like to move from passive to active, just like building upon the passive activity and making it a little bit more active.
Right. So I guess what we are saying is that preparing for the STANAG exam is not only about STANAG things. It's also about, living like English a little bit, right? But we'll get to STANAG specifics very soon, so don't worry about that.
You can think about it like as a language immersion, but just being immersed in a language does not guarantee learning a language. I'm living in Spain, and I have met a lot of foreigners living here in Spain who are listening to Spanish all the time, were exposed to Spanish, but they never spoke Spanish. They never learned Spanish. Why? Because they didn't take any action to actually speak the language, right? Like they were surrounded by it, but just by being surrounded by the language, you're not going to learn the language and just start speaking. This may work only if you are like a little kid and you immerse into that language. But as an adult, like you actually have to take action and do something active in order to improve. So just an off topic.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me move on to step number 3, and that's to address all 4 skills. If I was getting a €1 every time somebody told me like, I know, like reading, I know how to read in English, reading is easy, and all of those undermining of reading, because everyone just assumes that it's the easiest skill. Guys, it's not. It might be really challenging for a lot of people, and a lot of people really underestimate reading, and then they come to the exam and they're shocked that it's actually quite tricky. And I want to give you a couple of reasons why reading might be so tricky for us. The first reason for that is because of our short attention span. So we are not able to focus for such long periods of time. We get distracted. Think about when you're like reading something, right? Like there are a lot of all of those notifications coming. We are used to being distracted all the time. So when you're reading a text, you have to give it full attention, 100% of it. And it's really hard for a lot of us to focus for 2 hours and do it like non-stop. So without taking any breaks, because you might not have time for breaks. So that's something that makes reading quite tricky. Of course, the same thing can translate to listening as well. You're also under time pressure. And assuming it's the easiest skill, don't take anything for granted, okay? Practice. Do it, but like don't just assume that it's going to be the easiest and you don't need to practice reading, or just doing one test is going to be enough. For most of us, it's not going to be enough, and you need more practice of reading. And another thing is not being aware that reading for pleasure and the exam reading are 2 completely different things. They have nothing to do with each other, because the purpose of the article that you're reading is to be as clear as possible, okay, to express the idea in the clearest way. And the purpose of your exam reading is not necessarily that. It's to test you, whether you got every nuance of that, whether you are able to read between the lines, whether you are able to understand certain words. So it's, let's say, like to confuse you, or like to test whether you fall into a trap. Okay, so the examiners will be testing you. So it's not going to be the same experience reading for pleasure or doing the exam tasks. That's why you need to practice and get better at that. And yeah, make sure that you practice both receptive skills and productive skills. Receptive skills are reading and listening, and productive skills are speaking and writing. And as I said, don't take any of them for granted, ever.
Right. Step 4 is my favorite.
I know why.
Yeah, get to know the exam inside out. In other words, become a STANAG expert, right? Become a STANAG expert. And what I mean by that is make sure that you are familiar with all the details of the exam, and also with all the details of the exam in your country, because you already probably know that every country, every NATO country administers the exam in accordance with the STANAG 6001, obviously, but well, there is room for interpretation. So every country interprets the the norm in their own way, and there are differences in what kinds of tasks there are, in what kind of marking criteria probably will be the most similar to each other, and what will differ the most will be the types of tasks, also the timing, the word limits, and all those nuances that can actually decide about your success or failure. And even being at a really high level of English, and being, let's say, if you are taking the exam at level 3, and if you measure it against the criteria for level 3, it is at level 3, no doubt, and you don't know the exam requirements for a given country, then it may happen that you fail because you omit an important piece of information. You may be unaware that some element of this exam is really important, and that can actually decide about your failure. This can be the word limit, this can be the timing, this can be a task achievement point. So, for example, the task achievement criterion is very tricky, because what it really says is that you need to follow the instruction for the task really closely. And people very often underestimate it, and they say, okay, I know how to write a letter. I've written a letter and it has 3 paragraphs and the ending and everything is there. But actually they forget to mention 1 point from the instruction, and this can be crucial. So knowing what is expected of you can help you avoid unnecessary mistakes that are easily avoided when you know what is expected. So you can get extra points when you avoid those unnecessary mistakes, the mistakes that you wouldn't make if you knew that you have to put some information in your text, let's say, or in your presentation. Yeah, okay. And generally, knowing what to expect makes your life easier, right? Knowing what topics to expect may help you when you are immersing yourself in those topics, as we suggested before, right? And then while you are choosing the topics for listening, watching, reading, writing, and speaking, you actually can choose from among the topics that you know that you can expect during the exam. So really, this is crucial. And if only you can, please, get any materials available to you which mention the formal requirements for the exam, study them. So for example, for the Polish exam, it's actually not tricky at all because all the documents are publicly available.
Lucky Polish students.
Right, and downloadable. So actually, you know everything. You can read them, inside out. You can learn them by heart and know what to expect, actually. You have all the criteria mentioned. So obviously, there is STANAG 601 norm, which you can also read, but it is more general. It won't tell you everything, but still it is worth getting familiar with, just to know what to expect, right?
Yes. Okay, so speaking of the exams, I want to encourage you to actually do mock exams if you have access to them, because not all of the countries allow the access to the mock exams. Unfortunately, somehow they decide to make our life harder. But if you have access to those, definitely train yourself in those, and super important, control time. Time management will be quite a crucial issue here, because as Małgosia said, like, you can actually lose points if you don't do it within the time limit, word limit, and so on. So all of those limits are to stick to. And what I want you to do is really check how much time it takes you to plan, to write, and edit your writing. And if when I was reading it, you thought like, ooh, I don't plan my writing, this is your final call, like, to remind you that planning is not a waste of time. It can actually save you time. So if you don't have a habit of planning your writing, you need to develop this habit. Absolutely, because the examiners can see through that. They can see through your writing, and they see immediately who planned the writing and who didn't. Okay, don't just go with your stream of consciousness, like everything that comes to your mind at that moment. No. Plan your writing, and it's going to be so much more organized. And also, don't skip the last part, which is editing your writing. Okay, when you're done, don't do like, okay, I'm done with my writing, let's move on like to the next part. No, use this time like to actually take a deep breath, drink a little bit of water if you can, and then edit your writing. Check all of the mistakes that you tend to make, and be, like, search for your text with all of the typos that might have appeared there. Some exams are computer-based, some exams are paper-based, so there are also different things to pay attention to. Because if your exam is computer-based, like, you really need to take a look at typos. Typos are those kind of mistakes that we make when we write on the keyboard. And when you are writing your text on paper, there will be also other things to pay attention to. So just be aware like how much time it takes you, use the timer, and train yourself like the proper timing of your tasks. Okay, because you may actually discover that it takes you much longer than it's supposed to. And yeah, the tip is do it, learn a lesson. Okay, if you discover, okay, it takes me half an hour longer than the time limit, optimize and do it better next time. Okay, like repeat this cycle until you get it within the time frame given. Okay, Małgosia, you muted yourself.
Yes, I'm back. Okay. All right, so make sure you receive feedback on your productive skills. So this can actually be a game changer. Why? Well, because if you receive feedback, and especially from an experienced teacher, somebody who knows the STANAG exams and who knows what the rules are, then it can really change everything for you. It can speed up your learning. It can help you develop in the right direction. So how can feedback can become a game changer? So first of all, you become aware of your mistakes. So if you become aware of the mistakes that you are making, you are able to correct them, right? To improve on them. You are able to work on that. So this is one point. So to improve something, you need to be aware of that, and that's what feedback gives you. So the second point is you become familiar with your strengths. So the teacher or the examiner is somebody who will show you where you are making mistakes, but will show you also where your strengths lie and how you can use your strengths to maybe improve on your weaknesses. So how to compensate for your weaknesses. Okay. Also, experienced teacher can give you strategic advice on how to improve your mistakes, right? Tell you some ideas, some steps you can take, what to do. So you are making these grammatical mistakes all over again. Then what can you do, right? You can do this, this, or that, and you can try different things. And then you check which way is working for you. So this is how a cooperation with an experienced teacher could look like. And so when you know what your strengths and mistakes are and how you can work on them, then you can actually improve. And when you improve at a given level, and let's say you master this level, the teacher can give you advice on how to go to the next level, right? Because this is the very often the issue with level 3. The difference between level 2 and level 3 seems to be huge, right? And we somehow have to, make this leap and to somehow get to this level. How to do it? Well, in a strategic way, right? So instead of getting stuck, that can happen to you when you are learning on your own, and you actually don't know what to focus on, in which direction to go, feedback can help you get unstuck and to go in the right direction, to start developing instead of, running in circles, right? And doing the same thing all over again. And again, I will emphasize strengths, because for me, this is crucial. Well, generally our typical attitude to learning a language is, I'm making all those mistakes. What should I do? And my first question would be, what are you good at? Right? What are you good at? And then what can you do? Which of those things that you are good at can you use to help you with those things that you are not so good at? Right? So this would be a little change of mindset that I would suggest, not focusing on your mistakes, but on your strengths and how they can help you. So let's say maybe you're not very talkative. You don't like talking a lot, and it might be a problem during your speaking exam, right? What to do then? Well, maybe you're not very talkative, but you're very analytical and you are really interested in facts. So be really accurate, focus on facts, figures, numbers, ideas that you know a lot of, and just give facts instead of talking a lot. And if you are correct and factual and logical, then it will compensate for you not being talkative, right? This is how you use your strengths. And generally, well, it helps you to get more points. That's the important part as well. How does it help you get more points during the exam? Well, because accuracy is one of the marking criteria of evaluation criteria, right? So accuracy meaning grammatical correctness. Well, if you are given feedback on correctness and how to improve on that, well, then you have the chance of getting more points, right? And how to get to the next level, how to take your English from level 2 to level 3, how to start using more advanced vocabulary, how to incorporate some more advanced grammar in your speaking and writing, because we are speaking about productive skills here, right? Okay. Yeah, I think that's it about feedback.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to jump to number 7, apparently. Tip number 7, or like step number 7 that you can take is to find a speaking partner or a few in order to use the language actively. So tell me if that resonates with you, because a lot of us before the pandemic were members of different communities. Many cities were organizing some kind of meetups where you could meet people from different countries. And that was something that was happening on a regular basis. And you had a chance to use the language speaking with foreigners. And it was like a lot of fun. And then when the pandemic started, like a lot of us lost a lot of those opportunities to actually speak to other people in English. And that was a tough one. And a lot of us experienced it. And the thing is that English is meant to be spoken with other people. So like learning it in a group and interacting with others is actually a very natural way to absorb it. And another benefit of doing it in a group is the accountability factor, because it works like like having a gym buddy. Have you ever had a gym buddy? Somebody that you are always like talking to go to the gym together. It's kind of the same feeling, that you both hold each other accountable. You make sure that you do your part and you don't want to disappoint the other person. You want to show up, you want to be active, you want to be prepared. So this accountability gives, like the group gives us this accountability factor. And another thing is that very often we get too comfortable. When we talk to our favorite teacher, the things just become too easy and we are not pushing ourselves enough. You probably can resonate with that too, that you have had classes with the same teacher for like really long time. You got used to this person's accent. It was not challenging anymore. And it just became too easy. And what I wanted to tell you is that if it becomes too easy, it means that you are just having fun in your comfort zone. And if you want to grow, if you want to upgrade, you need to get out of your comfort zone. You need to feel uncomfortable, okay? Because there is no growth in the comfort zone. So I really want to encourage you to push yourself outside of it. Because if you stay in the comfort zone, you know what will happen? Nothing will happen, because there is no growth in the comfort zone. So I want you to stay with this idea, thinking about language learning, that it has to be a little bit uncomfortable. Although I think that you should find a sweet spot in between something that is too comfortable and something that is totally overwhelming. Okay, so you need to find this safe environment, but that is pushing you in the right direction. Okay, because if you jump directly to something that is absolutely overwhelming, that might be quite discouraging. So this sweet spot in the middle seems like a good place to be. That's the growth zone. Małgosia, we can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm back. Yes. Okay. So I will talk about grammar. Grammar is definitely out of many people's comfort zone, isn't it? So it seems like we keep thinking of grammar all the time as just the thing that we need to improve. So I would like to look at grammar from a little bit different perspective. because also traditionally, probably at schools, we've been taught that there is grammar and there are grammatical rules and there are grammatical forms, and we have to learn what the forms are, how to use them, when to use them. And actually we learn on that, we do those exercises, we have those, you know, piles of grammar books and grammar exercises, and then in the end we use present simple and past simple. And when we have to use present perfect, we panic and we don't use it after all, right? So because it's all about doing it in a totally different way from my perspective. So yes, grammar is important because accuracy, as I have already said, is one of the marking criteria for productive skills. So grammatical correctness is the thing, but you need to start thinking about grammar from a little bit different perspective. I would say that for me, it works when I think about grammar as a tool. Grammar is also important to think about as in the context of what you say and of what you write. This is what I do in my workshops, for example. We never do grammar lessons. What we do is we, for example, write texts, and then we work on those texts. We look at what grammatical forms we have used in our texts, and then how we could improve on them, maybe, and it's usually about not whether it was used correctly or incorrectly. Well, I always ask my students, what did you want to say when you used this grammatical form? What was your intention? And they tell me, I wanted to say this, this, and that. I say, okay, and when you write it in this way, when you use this grammatical structure, I understand it in that way. So you didn't get your message across if you use this form, right? So that's, you know, a little bit from a different perspective. So what I would do if I was preparing for the STANAG exam, I would learn what functions and what tasks appear in the exam and think and plan what grammar might come handy. What grammar might be useful. For example, if you know that in the level 2 exam, you're going to talk about everyday routines and routine at work and your duties. So you know that you will need present simple to do it, right? So it's like planning strategically again. So when I'm talking about some of my temporary activities, because something is changes, there is a crisis, I will be using present continuous, right? So somehow instead of learning the grammar traditional way, I would start thinking, okay, I have to talk about this and I have to do this kind of exercise, and I will need those grammatical forms for that purpose and other grammatical forms for another purpose. And actually we have prepared two lists, right, of what grammatical structures and functions may be useful in level 2 and level 3. So these comes from the types of tasks and the types of topics that appear in level 2 exam. And as you can see, I won't be reading that. You can see it on the slide. So there are different functions that might come handy in level 2. But if you look at the next slide which shows you the level 3, well, it means that you have to first master everything that is connected with level 2, and only that add to that those functions that we are suggesting here for level 3. So what would be the difference between level 2 and level 3 here? So in level 3, we would be adding everything that makes your language more formal, more advanced, because generally all the productive tasks in level 2 require you to use formal, advanced, sometimes even academic language. So everything we would be adding to at level 3 would be the forms of advanced grammatical structures, right? Always in context, right?
If I can add something, because there's in some countries the exam, when you're taking the exam and your goal is level 3, you can still be asked questions from the level 2. Don't forget that. For example, students in Spain, funnily enough, it often happens that the student comes to the exam really prepared for the level 3 tasks, and they are totally puzzled when they are asked questions from the level 2, because they were not like mentally prepared to talk about such basic things, and it really shocks them that they have to talk about those things, and they are kind of starting to feel like, okay, am I not doing very well on the exam, and they start to freak out because they start to think that they did really bad on the exam, which is not the case. The examiners will also test your level 2 skills. Same thing applies to the JFLT exam. Like, you also have to do the role play, which is typically the level 2 task. But even if you're aiming at the level 3, you still very often in many countries you have to perform the level 2 tasks as well. So just bear in mind. Ooh, okay, here I come with step number 9, and it's something that I really like to talk about. And if you can see this picture with Duolingo, and it's not that I hate Duolingo, I just think that it's absolutely useless in your exam preparation process. No, to put it this way.
I don't hate Duolingo. I've actually started learning Spanish using Duolingo recently. So
go ahead, learn Spanish. And honestly, if you're trying to learn like the very basics of the language, Duolingo is fine, right? But if you actually are trying to learn something like very specific, much deeper, oh wait, I think the chat is activated. Duolingo lover, yeah, definitely. So I want to show you some other tools that you can use. The whole idea of this is to show you some other tools that you can use instead. I'm not a great fan of apps in order to improve your language learning. If you have some apps that you absolutely love, feel free to recommend them in the chat. I would love to check them out. But honestly, I haven't found any that I really like. Maybe Quizlet a little bit, but nothing else than that. So let me show you a few tools that I also use with my students, and I found them much more effective than Duolingo or other time wasters. Here it comes. But before, I have a question for you. When we talk about learning vocabulary, which circle do you think that we should expand? Which one should we work on making bigger? Should we try to make the red circle bigger, the green one, or the black one? Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Which one should be our focus? Expanding the red? Somebody says the green one, the black one, the red? Okay, green, black, red. Red, wow, okay. I have many people's many responses. Okay, let me tell you which one you should focus on. And it may surprise some of you. You should actually focus on the green one. For those who voted the green one, you were right. And why? Because these are the words that actually get you stuck. And they are not available when you need them. Think about it. If you just keep like learning new words all the time, like you create those long vocabulary lists with words like out of the context, or like they have nothing to do with each other. You just keep like learning more and more new words. That's great for your passive vocabulary, for your reading and listening, because you are able to recognize those words in this type of exam tasks. But your productive skills, your speaking stays the same if you never use them, right? Like nobody knows. You kind of secretly know those words, but nobody even knows that you know so many fancy words. If you never use them, how are they supposed to know? So what I want to encourage you to do is to actually focus on expanding the green circle. Okay, so the words that you know but barely use, and I want you to start adding them to the red circle. Okay, so actually this is going to be the game changer, and a lot of people are shocked when I tell them that because they just think that we need to keep like learning more and more new words. Focus on those words that when you're and start paying attention to them from now on. Those words when you're having a conversation, and you know that you know this perfect word that would be perfect to use in this very moment, but is not available. There might be a few reasons why it's not available. One of the reasons might be because you don't know how to pronounce it. So I like to tell these stories to my students, like to visualize this, that Your brain wants to kind of protect you from a humiliation. Okay, it's not really a humiliation to mispronounce something, but your brain thinks so. That so it doesn't make it available. It just mutes it in your head, and it just goes like with a simple adjective or a simple verb instead. Like, why don't you use good or nice? You know, and it just suggests you those basic ones because they're safe, because they're familiar. So what you need to do, you need to make those words that you know but you barely use, you need to make them more familiar. Okay, this made me realize that we should actually focus on like including more words from the green one into the red one. Maybe I expressed it in the wrong way at the beginning, but these are the words that should be in your spotlight. Okay, the words in your passive vocabulary and put them into your active vocabulary. But how we can actually do that? Let me give you a few strategies how to activate your vocabulary. These are some of the tools that I find absolutely useful. One of them is the vocabulary planner. So this is the one from Hadar Shemesh, but you can actually create your own one. Every month, pick 20 words or a little bit less than 20 words that you want to start using on a more regular basis. Okay, so not new words that you will find today or tomorrow. No, focus on the words, for example, if you're talking to your colleagues or you're having an English class, those words that were not available and you want them to be available. Okay, so these are the ones that we add to the list. And for this month, we work intensively on adding them to our active vocabulary. Okay, this will be the goal. And I already mentioned the aspect of pronunciation, that if we don't know how to pronounce it, we tend to avoid this word unconsciously. And the great tool that you can use in order to help yourself with that is Youglish. Let me guys know if you know Youglish, if you have ever used this tool, or it's actually new to you. I'm really curious. Is it new or you know it already? New. Okay, good. So you'll learn something new today. I'm not going to show you how Youglish works, but this is the first homework that I have for you after this class. I want you to go to Google, find Youglish, and new as well. Okay, great. And use Youglish. The way it works is that you type a word there, and it sends you immediately to either a YouTube video or a TED Talk or some interview when this word is used in context. Okay, so you can immediately hear this word in the context, and you can keep like listening to more and more of the same word used in so many different contexts, and you can hear the pronunciation of the word. So it's a fantastic tool. If you take one thing from this webinar today, like take Youglish, okay? Youglish is going to be your good friend. And it's not an app, unfortunately. Okay, because if it was, it would be my favorite app, but it's not. It's just a website. So add it to your favorites, and I guarantee that it's going to be really helpful in this process of activating your vocabulary. Okay, and here is a strategy, like a specific strategy that you can use with every single new word that you want to move from your passive to your active vocabulary. So I want you to choose the verb from the green circle, okay, this fancy, nice words that you know that will impress your colleagues or examiners, okay, that is never available, okay. Make sure that you know how to pronounce it, okay, so check the pronunciation of it in the pronunciation dictionary. Build the pronunciation confidence. So you actually need to build muscle memory, like with certain sounds, okay? It might contain some difficult sounds for you to produce. So repeat it at least 20 times. Okay, I know it sounds super boring, but it's actually effective. And then use Youglish to hear the word in context. Okay, so this way we practice the use of it, we practice the pronunciation of it, and then we hear it in context. Great tool. Then that's not all, because then comes again the active part. I want you to create your own sentence with your own example. If it's possible to create an example where it's relevant to your life, that's even better, okay? Because if we come up with some examples that are, first of all, relevant to our lives, or funny or absurd and ridiculous, these are like the ones that we remember best. At least for me, it works in this way. And I think for a lot of people, works in the same way. And then the final step of all of this process is to use it intentionally in a conversation. So you can think a little bit in advance, like, what could be the word that, in what situation I could use this word, okay? Talking to my colleague about a certain topic, or like just think about the context when it would be suitable to use it. It might be like a very general word or maybe a very specific one. Okay, so this is the full strategy that you can use to really boost your vocabulary and move the words from passive to active.
Before we move on to step 2, it actually makes me think about how you can use it specifically for preparing for the STANAG exam. So let's say you are preparing for speaking or writing, and you have the list of the 20 or 10 words that you want to start using more. And generally, you can set a goal for yourself that in your next text you are going to use 5 new words, or the 5 words that you want to use more, and incorporate them into your every writing, let's say this week, this month, right? And in this way they will become active easily. This is actually something that that you can do when you practice writing. And I can see that people strive at using more new vocabulary, but they somehow keep making mistakes. But it's a great idea to keep using the word that you want to activate, right? If you use it 5 times, 10 times, it will in the end it will just stick in your head, right?
Małgosia, I think it's time that we debunk the myth that there is a certain list of words that you need to learn for the level 2 or the level 3 exam, okay? There is no such thing, okay? There are some gossips that something like that exists, like a kind of a list of all of the words that you need to know for the exam, but seriously, no, there is no such thing. I mean, how could it even exist? Like in every listening or reading, there are like different topics. There is no such thing as the list of words that you need to know for the exam. Okay.
And the exams evolve, right? They change. Like every few years, we can see how they have evolved. Mostly, they are becoming more difficult, because the candidates are better and better. So the exams are evolving. So the list is non-existent. Well, unless you have one, then send it to us, please.
Yeah.
All right. So step 10 is record yourself. So if you really have no one to practice with, if you really have no one to talk to in English, then you can try recording yourself. And here what I wanted to offer is like a strategy for recording yourself. So why should you record yourself? Well, recording yourself is useful because you can actually listen to yourself speaking, and this is your only chance to spot anything that you would like to improve on, or anything that you would like to develop. So let's say you record yourself speaking, and then you hear that you keep using those simple adjectives. So, and then you can actually consciously decide that you want to start replacing them with more advanced adjectives, for example, right? So the strategy is simple. Well, it's not enough just to record yourself speaking, like stream of consciousness, although that might be interesting, which reminds me of Agent Cooper in Twin Peaks series, if you remember that thing. But the strategy must be more, I would say, accurate. So first, choose a topic. And here you have suggested lists of topics and kinds of tasks that you can expect during level 2 and level 3 exams in speaking. Especially in level 3, you can see that functions are specifically mentioned. So, and they are connected with different types of topics. So, for example, you have instruction which says summarize, right? And then the topic might be news. Describe something, and then there's conflicts, hypothesize about something else, make a prediction, and so on and so forth. So while you are setting a task for yourself to record, be really specific. Decide what you want to present, how long you want it to be, what goal you want to achieve, because these are the criteria that you will be then evaluating yourself against. Right? You can also take like a exam task, right, from a mock exam or from a past paper, and that would be probably the easiest thing to do. But if you don't, don't have access to any tasks from your country, then you can try to invent those tasks for yourself. After you have set the details of your task for yourself and set the time limit and the achievement criteria, then record yourselves. And after you have recorded yourself, well, there comes time when you have to try to evaluate yourself. And I know that you will say that this is impossible, but well, I want to make it a little bit easier for you. And I think that if you know what to evaluate yourself against, that it might be a little bit easier. So these are the criteria for evaluation from the STANAG exams or SLP exams. And for example, one of the marking evaluation criteria is fluency. So how can you evaluate that? Well, if you listen to yourself, you will hear that you, for example, stop, get stuck, make pauses, repeat words. And then what can you do with that? Well, you can actually think about what you can do when it happens, right? Think of some strategies, think of some expressions that you can consciously use when you feel that you are getting stuck, right? So you can actually plan what you say. Like, for example, let me think about that. Well, actually, I wanted to say something completely different. So let me come back to that. Right, or anything else for that matter, right?
Let me rephrase that,
right.
Or if you like feel completely lost, you can say something. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. And exactly. this kind of I call them emergency expressions. Okay, think about like what's the worst case scenario? Like what is the worst thing that can happen, right? Like, and you can kind of prepare yourself, kind of visualize that in advance. And what would you do in this situation? What would you do if that happens?
Okay. Have a list of expressions, and you can have them on paper and practice them in the beginning. And then when you activate them, they will become, active and yours to use. Okay, another criterion is accuracy. That is grammatical correctness, usually, or correct use of vocabulary as well. So if you spot a mistake, what can you do? Correct it, okay? And then just record the same thing again, this time focusing on being correct at the point where you remember you made a mistake. Vocabulary, I think I have already mentioned that, right? If you notice that you use simplistic vocabulary, make the list of possible alternatives that you could actually use while speaking, and then try to incorporate them in your next recording. Pronunciation. So again, if you're not sure of pronunciation, Magda talked a lot about that. Just check it, right? Just check the pronunciation, play it to yourself, repeat it, right? And after that, well, it should be easier, or at least you should be less confused. And completing the task, that's important. That's why I mentioned in the beginning that it is important to know what criteria you're going to use to evaluate yourself. That's why it's important to set the goal for yourself in the beginning. And after you have evaluated all that, try to evaluate all that, record yourself again with the improvements, right? And see what the result is. Well, I guarantee you that it will be better.
Yeah, so. As you can see, we are both great fans of recording. And I know that you may think of it like, oh, I hate recording myself. I hate hearing my voice on recording and so on. Well, we all do. But remember what I said about getting out of your comfort zone and being uncomfortable? This is actually your opportunity to prove that you're getting uncomfortable. Remember that learning comes with feeling uncomfortable. And I know that audio recordings or recording videos of themselves can be something really uncomfortable. Trust me, especially for those of you who are introverts, like that might be something that you will be like resisting a lot of, but the growth is waiting there on the other side. All right, so we talked a little bit about self-preparing for the exam, and sometimes we are approached by students asking us like, is it even possible to self-prepare for the exam? And the answer is sure. Yeah, it is possible. And a lot of people do that. So it's not something that is completely unachievable. And you can do it, especially if you have like daily contact with the language, if you're exposed to the language, if you use it on a daily active basis. This will definitely help a lot. Although in many cases, it might not be enough. Just being in touch with the language, this language immersion might not be enough. Sometimes the missing piece is what Małgosia talked about, receiving feedback, especially like this kind of exam guidance feedback, very specific one on what to work on in terms of the exam requirements. Sometimes it's the clarity of what you actually have to do on the exam. Sometimes it's the community support that you are missing, like the feeling that you are not alone in all of this, that there are other people who share the same goal, and the constructive feedback that helps you improve. And honestly, yes, you can do that alone, absolutely, but you don't have to. Okay, so you don't have to you don't have to walk this path alone. And we wanted to tell you a little bit about the community and the enormous value of the community. Learning communities are the thing in 2022. And the reason is because we have been so disconnected, so socially distanced, right? Like these were like the buzzwords of 2021, right? Social distance. And we really did distance ourselves from other people. And finding a group of people who you resonate with, like who share the same goal in mind, it's really a treasure and such a relief, to be honest, that you're surrounded by those like-minded individuals and you create this support network together. So what if you could achieve your goal of passing the STANAG exam this year, all with the guiding hand of 2 experts and a supportive community? Sounds good? So let us introduce our 2022 STANAG mentoring program. And honestly, this is the SLP community that we all needed. And we've been approached by students like asking about those kind of opportunities, to give them opportunity to speak English. I was even asking some of my people like who follow me on Instagram, like, how can I help you in the best way? And you answered by giving us speaking opportunities. And we decided to do something about it with Małgosia. We've been working on it for quite a while in 2021 with you in mind. And this is how the STANAG mentoring program was born. So we would like to tell you a little bit more about it and invite you to be a part of our online world or online space and to see whether it's for you and if you would like to give it a go. So, Małgosia, can you tell us about what is inside of the STANAG mentoring program?
Yeah, we designed the STANAG mentoring program to allow you to immerse yourself in English. So one of the things about the STANAG mentoring program is that it's all in English, and the language of communication is English. And actually, we wanted us to meet quite often. So we decided that during a month, because the STANAG mentoring program somehow revolves around a month, because every month there will be new content on our platform in which the community will somehow be gathered. And every week there will be a different event. So 1 week we'll have a webinar, something similar to what we are doing today, where we will somehow share ideas, tips, guidance connected with STANAG exams in particular, and learning English as well.
It'll be like very specific topics related.
Very specific topics, and also you will have impact on what topics we actually cover, because we would like you to share your opinion on which topics you think are the most important for you. Then we'll just go with the flow of your wishes. So webinar will be one thing. There will also be a Q&A session every month, in which obviously we'll answer all your questions, which you will be able to ask in advance. There will be a hot seat session every month as well, and this will be more about practicing. So this will be for the brave ones who want to just come to our Zoom meeting and practice live the exam tasks and then receive our feedback. And there will be speaking club. I think that's the most waited for thing, which will actually be about speaking English in groups, pairs, with other community members, but it will also all be connected with STANAG topics, STANAG types of tasks. So We'll give you topics, we'll give you tasks, we'll give you ideas, but we'll make sure that it's all connected with STANAG preparation as well.
Yes, and it's our military speaking club. And I would like to tell you a little bit about the 3 pillars of our mentoring program, like what was something that we had in mind when we were designing it. So the first pillar is the community, okay? Creating a community outside of social media, okay? Because we didn't want to just create another Facebook group for people to join. Not everyone is on social media, not everyone wants to be on social media, and we don't want to push you to create a Facebook account just to be able to be part of our community. So we decided to create it on a separate platform, and there is like a built-in community inside of it. So it's exclusive, like you get access to it after you join the program. So no Facebook bots or like random people joining or anything like this. And honestly, we wanted to give it as an opportunity to people. Like a lot of my students told me, like, I don't have Facebook. I don't want to have it. I don't want to have social media. And our intention was to not to push you to create it, to be able to be part of our community. So that's on a separate platform.
Yes, but the interesting thing is actually that it does look like Facebook. So it has the Facebook functionalities. It's all closed community. So you know everybody there. So there are no intruders, but you can create a profile, you can make friends with people in the community, you can create groups, you can create chats, you can have direct conversations. So it works in the same way, but it's safe because it's just closed community.
And the best thing about it, that it looks like Facebook, but it's not Facebook or Meta or like whatever it is called right now.
Right.
So yeah, like you don't have to be on social media. The other pillar of our program is the content. So we make sure that there is our content library that is growing every month, because every month we are adding all of those webinars, Q&A sessions, like to our material library. And also when you access the community, we have already prepared like a set of resources. It's called the resource bank, and you will find materials there like on speaking and writing. You will find some examples of the writing tasks and model writings as well, and a lot of tips on how to improve in those areas. So we call it like STANAG in a nutshell, where you will find a lot of useful information on how to prepare for the exam in your country. And you get live access to us and tailor-made materials, okay? And the third pillar is the communication. It's the opportunity to speak and get to know like-minded people. So we have gathered here today, and we managed to gather like this group of people who have similar backgrounds, similar interests, and that's not something that you can take for granted and find everywhere, right? It's quite hard to find people who would share like the same experiences that you have had. So we find it something really valuable to have this type of community. And this is the structure as Małgosia described. Like in week 1, we have a webinar, then we have the hot seat session, speaking club, and Q&A session. And there will be also an opportunity to have the speaking club more often than once a month. We'll start with once a month, but then the members can kind of take over a little bit and organize the meetings on their own as well, and become like a really active members of this community. So we're really excited to see you being involved into it if you decide to join. Małgosia, tell us a little bit about those buzzwords like webinar, hot seat sessions. What are they exactly? So yeah.
Fortunately, webinar doesn't need explaining, because this is what we are experiencing right now.
we have some examples of upcoming webinars here.
Yes, so generally the webinar will be the knowledge packed, the content based thing where we talk a lot and you consume. And in contrast to all the other meetings, this will take place once a month, and it will be somehow knowledge and content based. In contrast to other types of meetings like hot seat sessions, in which you take the lead, we only will be the feedback givers in those meetings. So you will be doing exercises, you will be practicing, you will be taking the lead, and we'll be just maybe guiding you a little bit just to stay in the STANAG zone. Right.
One of us will be like examining you, and the other one will be taking notes with feedback, and like to make sure that we can give you the best feedback possible. So you always receive the feedback on your performance. Somebody's asking, could you explain a little bit more about webinars? Will they be live or recordings?
Yeah, well, so the webinars will be live, but they will also be recorded. So whenever you are not able to participate live, then you will be able to watch the recording. So yeah, that's what
we know that you guys are in different time zones. Some of you are currently deployed as well. So we want to make sure that you can always go back to the content. And also we will be alternating between a few different hours and days of all of those activities. So there won't be like one permanent day and hour for each of them, but they will change, so that we want to make sure that all of you can take an active part in it. Maybe sometimes you can take part in it, in some other day you cannot, but you can always catch up and watch the replay of it. So all of the activities except for the speaking club will be recorded, because the speaking club is something that is happening in many rooms at the same time. There are a lot of interactions, and it's kind of personal when people talk about things related to their personal life. So this part will not be recorded. This part will be absolutely private. So hot seat sessions, Q&As, and webinars are recorded. Speaking club is not.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, tell us more about the speaking club then.
Well, the speaking club is all about speaking. It's all about using the opportunity of being in the community just to share experience and also talk to other people, communicate, and at the same time practice STANAG topics and tasks. So I think you will love speaking club, because
it's not going to be just that we'll tell you, guys, just talk to each other, right? No, it will be guided. Like we'll give you topics to talk about, both like the kind of storytelling topics, expressing opinions on different topics. They will be also divided into like level 2 and level 3. You can only stay with the people from the same level as you, or you can mix up. It will be up to you. So remember that we'll be giving you materials to use. It's not going to be just like you connecting and not knowing what to talk about and what to say. That would be a bit awkward. So you can, of course, like then take it to another level and do it like in a more spontaneous way. But the main speaking club event will be with us providing you with some materials of what to talk about, created according to the STANAG requirements.
Yeah, there's a question about minimum requirements of knowledge regarding the webinar, but I'm not quite sure I understand the question. I can answer about the minimum requirements of English knowledge, if that is what you mean.
I think this is what he meant.
Yeah. So actually, well, we think that you will take the best from the program if your English is at least at B1 level. But if you are here and you are just following, then it means that it's just the right level. And but actually there are no requirements that could block you from joining the program. If your language level is lower, in your opinion or anybody's opinion, then you can still join us if you want to, and you can try and see whether it is for you, whether you are benefiting from the program, because actually immersing yourself like this in English in a way that we are offering here might really be a game changer that would boost your level really fast. So if you want to try, actually there is no language level limit that we are setting. Everybody's welcome.
We would recommend it to people who are aiming at the level 2 and 3, but we are not going to stop you if you're aiming at a different level. If you are like at the level 1 and you want to keep working towards developing your English skills, then we're not going to stop you. But we do recommend the program mostly for the people who are aiming at the level 2 and 3.
There's a question about whether we are going to correct mistakes in the speaking club. Well, I would say that in the speaking club, we'll focus more on communication, but we will be visiting those different rooms, and as far as possible, we will be giving feedback. on the other hand, the place for more feedback, and actually the place about feedback, will be the hot seat sessions. And this will be the place where we would like to focus on feedback even more than in the speaking club. But yes, in the speaking club as well, I think we'll be just joining the rooms and trying to give you feedback.
Yeah, we'll be like creeping on you a little bit there and listening to your conversations a little bit, but not too much. Okay, just like making sure that you're not getting stuck, and also like listening to some conversation, asking some extra questions if necessary. We'll be like circulating between different breakout rooms. If you know how it works on Zoom, there are those rooms where you just go with another person and you can talk one-to-one. So the idea of the speaking club is also like to give you this opportunity to talk to other people in English, to meet people from other countries, not all the time like to be assessed and like told like what you need to change or work on. It's more like to use the language in a little bit more like relaxed environment, to open up, to break the language barrier. This was our idea when we were thinking about the military speaking club, to give you this space like to freely talk without us like supervising you all the time. Although we'll be like, as I said, like checking out what is happening in those groups. If you need any support or help, we'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
And the final part is the Q&A session. Can you tell us about the Q&A session?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, that's quite self-explanatory, I think. There will be possibility every month to ask any questions you want about the STANAG exam. If you, anything you want to ask us about, about anything that you think we might help you with in connection with your preparation for the STANAG exams. So it will be just an interactive Zoom meeting as well. It will be happening live and will be recorded as well. You also talked already about the resource bank, or the STANAG in a nutshell thing. This is where we collected all the information that we managed to gather about requirements, marking criteria, types of tasks and topics, and we put them in downloadable PDFs, which you can download and just use, not share illegally. It's for you, it's for your private use. Well, there are also models of texts such as letters, emails, memoranda, reports, essays, articles, and well, anything that we could put our hands on is there. Which platform are you going to use?
Małgosia is going to answer this question. She's our IT girl, so she will answer that.
Far from that, but well. Anyway, the platform it's actually a theme and a plugin for the WordPress, and it's called BuddyBoss, and it's just the plugin and WordPress theme for building communities. Actually, you can go to BuddyBoss website and see what it looks like, because they really do have some interesting mock-ups that show what it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the website is estanag601.com. Okay, you can find it here. Like, you can see a little bit of that. We were going to share it later on, but
maybe I will just paste
of that. Yeah, Małgosia will paste you the link. Yeah, here is the website. So it's like from the back end, like it looks like, you know, oh no, I'm not going to talk about the IT stuff. It's not my thing. As I said, Małgosia is our IT girl. But for you, it looks like a normal website with something that looks like Facebook built in. Okay, so that's the way I see it. Here comes a question about Q&A. Could you complain and make requests to have the same STANAG tests in all NATO countries? The exam is very challenging in some countries. Absolutely. I'm going to record a YouTube video about it, like with a rant about it, because I think this is so unfair that the exam is so different in many NATO countries. And maybe we'll try to kind of start to talk about this topic and highlight it, because I think it's really unfair. So I totally agree with you, and there is a YouTube video that is coming about it, and my rant about it. Definitely, I need to talk about it. And you have already asked that, but all of the meetings are recorded and uploaded on the platform, apart from the speaking club, and you can watch them anytime. Like the replays will be uploaded right after we finish the session. So we just wanted to make sure that this is for you. If you feel that resonates with you, that you would like to be a part of our SLP community, which we would love to have you there, think about whether it's for you. If you want to actively use English, but you don't have people to speak with, this means that it might be something for you. If your exam date is approaching as well, and if you want to have support of SLP experts who know the exam specifics. But there are some other situations when you might find it really useful. If you want to have contact with English and not to lose your fluency, maybe you passed your exam a few months ago and you're thinking, okay, now what? Like, what should I do? How should I maintain my English level? And you're starting to notice that your English is getting rusty, right? So you want to make sure that you are in touch with the language. Or maybe you have had a break from English and now you want to get back on track, okay? That's a good thing to do, like a good goal to have at the beginning of 2022. Or maybe you're looking for an international community that has the same goal in mind, okay? It's also cool, like, to meet people from other countries. It was great to see that you guys come from so many different places and that you're all here with us. We would love to move that, like, to a private community and enjoy, like, this exchange of experiences. Like, as you can see, we are, like, really excited about this whole idea. And Małgosia, tell us about the options that exist in our membership.
Yeah, so this is what we are offering actually, and there are two options that you can choose from. The first option is called the standard membership, and if you decide to join as a standard member, then you will have access to everything that we have just talked about. So this is the standard option. And you have a price here. This is the estimated price in euro because we just wanted to show it some kind of common currency. Actually, the prices in the payment door will be in Polish zloty because this is just the bookkeeping thing that we needed to arrange it that way. But this is the estimated cost, and you will be using PayPal to pay for that, so it will be automatically converted into your currency of your account or of your card. And the premium membership is everything that we talked about here before: the webinar, Q&As, hot seat sessions, the resource bank, the speaking club, access to us and our feedback, plus every month you will receive extra individual feedback. It's called an extra individual feedback package, in which you get free writing corrections per month, which means that you send in or you submit free written text and you receive feedback from us. And also you can submit one audio homework that is a recorded presentation of yours that we will also give you feedback on. So these are our options.
Just to be clear, what exactly is a membership? Because maybe some of you are like wondering what it is exactly. So I suppose that you're using some memberships like Netflix, right? Like it works in a way that you're being charged like every month, as long as you want to be a part of this membership. Okay, so you can decide to be a member for a month, right? See whether you like it, and you can stay for 1 month, you can stay for 5, 10, or like as long as you want, as long as we'll be running this program. So it's totally up to you. Okay, you can come for a month, check it out, see whether it works for you. If that's what you are looking for, that's what you expected from it, and test it. Okay, you can give it a try. And we want to invite you to our online space. Here are some screenshots from the website when we were still creating it. So as we said, there are some groups there, and we'll be also like developing this section with the community section. Some values that for us are the community, the support, learning, and flexibility, something that we absolutely value. And as I said, it's a risk-free investment, because if you join and you don't love it, you can request a full refund within the first 14 days. No hard feelings, no questions asked, okay? Like, you're free to do that. You're free to test it for 2 weeks, see whether it's for you, whether you love it, whether you don't, okay? So we just wanted to reinforce that idea that you don't risk anything, okay? So you can give it a try and see. And just a reminder, what you're getting: access to the private community, monthly calls, webinars, sessions, you get access to our resources, and you become a member of our super SLP speaking club. And Małgosia, tell us more about how to become the member of our SLP community.
So if you already know that you want to join us, just go to the website that you can see here. And I have also pasted the link in the chat, so you can just click on it. And there you will just see the 2 options that you can choose from. And under each option, there is a PayPal button. You just click on the PayPal button and you pay. You don't even have to have a PayPal account. You can use a guest payment via PayPal by using your debit or credit card. So this all should work smoothly. That's it. Simple as that.
Yeah. We just wanted to remind you that we're going to close the doors in a few days because we won't be admitting people like all the time. We'll be opening doors like maybe twice this year. And the doors in this program are closing on Monday, January 31st. And our program starts on February 1st. And we are going to have a welcome party call when we will be welcoming all of the members. We'll be showing you around. And this is the time when all of the adventure will start. So we want to encourage you to pull up your seat today, because we also decided to limit the amount of seats that we have, the places in the program. Because we want to make it a really personalized, individual approach. We want to know your names. We want to know your struggles, your strengths, weaknesses, and so on. We want to make it a really personal experience and serve you in the best way possible. So we are not just going to accept crowds of people. We decided on a number of the maximum people that we can accept in the program. And after Monday, January 31st, if you don't join, if you want to join in the future, you have to wait until some point this year. We haven't decided yet when we are going to open it, but it's not going to be anytime soon. So we want to make sure that people who are there with us are receiving the best quality treatment and experience possible.
Yeah, so today it's only you that know about this opportunity, and tomorrow we are going to write to our email list as well, and announce it on social media and everywhere we can.
So, you're going to jump out of your fridge as well, so be ready for that.
But today it's only you, so just feel free to do your shopping today.
And we would really love to have you as a member of our community. We feel that it can be really a great experience, both for us and for you as well. And we have been thinking about creating this kind of community for quite a while. So it's like our baby from 2021 that is becoming a reality. All right, so we have come to the end of our presentation. It's time for questions now, if you have any, but also we would like to know, what is your biggest takeaway from today's webinar? Maybe one of the steps, maybe one of the strategies, techniques, maybe something very small, very specific that you have learned today and that you think okay, this was my favorite part of the webinar. This is what stays with me. Okay, so what was the best lesson that you have learned today, the best tip, your takeaway, and also open to all of your questions.
And in the meantime, I will maybe answer the questions asked by Tatiana. How many months is the program going to last? So the program is not closed as if. It's like an open-ended program. It works in a way that you subscribe for a month, and then you're somehow, it's like Netflix. So if you subscribe to Netflix, you're just automatically charged every month until you stop it. Okay, so if you decide after a month that you don't want to be in the program anymore, you can stop it and your program will last 1 month. But if you want to stay the second month, the third month, and the fourth month, that depends on you and on your decision to continue your membership, right? Okay.
Yeah, we have some people commenting that it's been an exceptional lesson. Thank you. We really appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Thank you guys for being here and for spending this evening with us. It has taken us a bit longer than expected, but we hope that you learned something useful, and we would really like to hear your takeaway. What is something that is staying with you after this workshop? such a great opportunity to increase all the necessary skills. Great job. Thank you. And we would love to have you in our community and help us create like this amazing group of people who are like so motivated and so supportive for each other. Seems like a great option for the New Year's resolution. Absolutely. I thank you guys for being here. Okay, goodbye. Wishing you all a good night, and thank you for all of your support and your presence here today. Okay, here we are with our last slide. Thank you for coming, and we can't wait to embark on this journey with you. Or just wishing you a lovely evening. Keep in touch, okay? Because as always, we'll be sharing a lot of useful materials on social media. I'm so tired, guys. We need some good rest after today. And wishing you a great evening and keep in touch. Take care. Goodbye.
Goodbye.